Tech mogul Julian Vance, worth billions, asked me out to the Empyrean Tower, the most expensive restaurant in the city, and I couldn't even afford an appetizer. I blew 2 months' salary on this midnight blue dress, just to sit here with the glittering lights of Seattle at my feet. Feeling like an imposter who'd crashed high society, I thought this was my Cinderella moment, but instead, he was a full hour late. To make matters worse, my phone lit up. It wasn't an apology text from him, but a message from an unknown number. Send the Phoenix key to the designated address, or your guarantor will pay the price. Phoenix key, guarantor. I was completely bewildered, feeling like I'd been dragged into a dangerous game I couldn't possibly understand, just as I was about to be metaphorically executed by the waiter's condescending stare. A mysterious man, 100 times more handsome than Julian, sat down across from me. He wore a meticulously tailored dark gray suit, and his eyes were as deep as a starless night sky. He spoke, his voice low and magnetic. Miss Su, your prince isn't coming tonight, but your troubles are just getting started. Folks, if you think this opening is intense, don't you dare scroll away. Hit that like button, because the level of crazy in this story is beyond anything you can imagine. This man was Elias Thorne. The name struck Suling's mind like a bolt of lightning. In Seattle's art and collector circles, that name was a legend. A mysterious collector who never appeared in public, but manipulated multi-million-dollar art deals from behind the scenes. Rumor had it, he could make an artist's career overnight, or render a museum's collection worthless. He didn't just collect physical art. He specialized in unique digital art pieces that contained cutting-edge technology. How could he be here? And how did he know her? Elias swirled the golden liquid in his glass. Julian Vance tried to mortgage a piece of digital art he has no right to, offering it to the syndicate to cover his failed investments. The core of that artwork is the so-called Phoenix key. The syndicate. Suling had heard the name. It was a shadow organization infamous for illegally plundering and trading valuable art and high-tech assets. Yes, Elias's gaze landed on her, sharp enough to pierce her soul. And you, Miss Suling, are the guarantor Julian left behind in this transaction. Or, to put it more accurately, the bait. Suling felt her blood run cold. I don't understand. I'm just a gallery assistant. I have nothing. Oh, but you do. Elias's voice was flat, without a ripple of emotion. You're currently curating a digital art exhibition featuring an anonymous piece titled Nirvana. Hidden within that artwork's data core is the encrypted Phoenix key. Julian pursued you for this very reason. He made you his guarantor, so that if the deal fell through, the syndicate would get the artwork from you. The truth hit Suling like a physical blow, leaving her cold and numb. She recalled how Julian had praised her insights on art, how he had casually inquired about the details of her exhibition. All that charm and romance had been a carefully constructed lie. She wasn't some lucky Cinderella. She was just a pawn being used. That text message. It's the final ultimatum from the syndicate. Their patience has run out. Elias put down his glass and leaned forward slightly. Their methods are creative, and they never leave loose ends. Using digital tech to ruin your reputation, making you a pariah in the art world, or even making you vanish from society entirely. It's all child's play for them. Fear washed over Suling like a tidal wave. She was an ordinary person. This was more bizarre and terrifying than any movie. I can protect you, Elias said, looking at her, a flicker of something new in his eyes for the first time. But you must trust me completely and do exactly as I say. From this moment on, your life is no longer your own. In a state of extreme fear and desperation, Suling looked at the mysterious and powerful man before her. She had no other choice. She was a drowning person, clinging to the only piece of driftwood in sight. Even if that driftwood might lead to an abyss, she nodded. Elias led Suling from the restaurant to a nondescript black car. It moved smoothly through the night, eventually stopping before a skyscraper that pierced the clouds. This was the pinnacle of Seattle, Elias's private kingdom, a penthouse duplex known as the Glass Tower. The interior was like a futuristic private art gallery. The walls were adorned with holographic art projections that constantly shifted, each piece worth a fortune. A giant floor-to-ceiling window offered a panoramic view of the entire Seattle skyline. It felt less like a home and more like an impregnable art fortress. You'll stay here starting tonight. Do not leave this building or contact anyone without my permission. Elias's tone was a command, not a suggestion. For the next few days, Sulin lived in isolation. Elias provided her with everything luxurious clothes, gourmet food, but she felt like a priceless piece of art, locked away, stripped of her freedom. He rarely appeared. Only his assistant would report the outside situation to her daily. The syndicate had already begun to move. Sulin's bank account was frozen, and fabricated posts about her lack of professional integrity started appearing on art community forums. If it weren't for Elias using his powerful resources to intercept and scrap them, her reputation would have been destroyed. Sulin finally understood that this game was far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. And Julian, the man she had once been infatuated with, had personally pushed her into this hell. One night, unable to sleep in the vast apartment, Sulin found herself wandering into Elias's study. The door was unlocked. Inside, the decor was simple. A massive desk and an ultra-high-definition screen that took up an entire wall. The screen was on, displaying not business data or code, but a virtual digital art gallery. Sulin's heart skipped a beat. She walked closer and saw that the gallery was filled with every piece of digital art she had ever shared or commented on through her art blog and social media over the past few years. Elias had been following her, and he knew her tastes even better than she did herself. Her fingers trembled as she swiped across the screen. In the gallery's deepest corner, she saw a familiar piece, a phoenix formed from countless shimmering data streams. It was her father's final work, the very piece that held the Phoenix key, Nirvana. Next to the artwork was a previously unseen photograph. It showed three young people, a refined-looking young Elias and her father. They were standing in a digital art studio, smiling brightly. The face of the third person was deliberately obscured by a digital scratch. Beneath the photo was a small caption in Elias's handwriting. The day I understood that the value of some art far exceeds money. Its true worth lies in its creator. Just then, Elias appeared behind her as if from nowhere. Your father, Suwinbo, was the most talented digital artist I have ever known. Sulin spun around, her vision blurred by tears. What is all this? Who is the other person in the photo? A rare look of sadness and anger crossed Elias's eyes. There were three of us back then. Me, your father, and him, Silas. We founded our first studio together, and the technology behind Nirvana was the miracle we created as a team. The name sent a chill down Sulin's spine. The head of the syndicate was her father's and Elias's former partner. Silas's greed was too great. He wanted to sell our technology on the black market for illegal purposes. Your father vehemently refused, and a huge rift grew between us. In the end, Silas colluded with outside investors and used despicable means to force your father out of the studio, stealing everything we had built. That organization became the precursor to the syndicate. He took a deep breath, his voice laced with pain. I've always felt that I failed to protect him. After your parents died in that car crash, I swore I would destroy Silas and the syndicate. That's why I've been watching over you from the shadows all these years. The anonymous art fund that sponsored your education. I established it. The Phoenix Key is more than just the core of an artwork, isn't it? Sulin asked, looking at the burning phoenix on the screen, a sudden understanding dawning on her. A glimmer of admiration, mixed with gravity, appeared in Elias's eyes. Your father called it the Phoenix Key because it could bring rebirth or burn everything to the ground. It contains a revolutionary backdoor program capable of bypassing all firewalls and directly accessing the core of the global financial trading system. In the right hands, it can fix system vulnerabilities and prevent financial disasters. But in Silas's hands, it's powerful enough to trigger a global economic tsunami and set the world back a decade. The truth exploded in Suling's mind like a nuclear bomb. She wasn't just protecting her father's legacy, she was guarding a Pandora's box that held the world's fate in the balance. So, we've reached this point. Isn't it wild how fate can be so cruel and yet so fascinating? A humble gallery assistant holds the fate of the world in her hands. If you're on the edge of your seat for Suling and moved by Ilias's silent protection, you absolutely have to subscribe to our channel. The story only gets more intense from here, and I promise you won't see what's coming next. Knowing the truth, Suling was filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Her feelings for Elias had evolved from fear and dependence to an indescribable trust and a flutter of her heart. She decided she would no longer be a damsel in distress waiting to be rescued. She would use her knowledge to win everything back for her father and for herself. Silas wants the key, so let's give him a fake one, Su Lin said, her gaze fixed on Nirvana on the screen, her eyes now firm and determined. My father built a dual-layer encryption into this piece. The real key can only be activated through a specific interactive sequence. We can create a decoy key, and when they try to decrypt it, we'll implant a virus to trace them back and cripple their systems. Elias looked at Sulin in astonishment. Her eyes shone with a brilliant light of intelligence and courage, like a diamond cleared of dust. He nodded. All right, let's do it. Just as they finalized their plan and were about to leave, the apartment's security system let out a shrill alarm before falling silent again. The security system was momentarily overloaded. Someone attempted an internal breach of the firewall, reported Marcus, Elias's head of security. His usually calm demeanor gone, replaced by beads of sweat on his forehead. Suling's heart sank. She recalled how Marcus had been casually asking about the details of her and Elias's plans over the past few days. She quietly moved behind him. On his tablet screen, a line of code hadn't been closed in time. It was an encrypted transmission command. Its destination, the syndicate's server. Marcus. Elias's voice was ice. Marcus's face went white, and he collapsed to his knees. Boss, I had no choice. Silas has my family. If I didn't tell him your plan, they would. A betrayal from within is deadlier than any external enemy. Their entire plan was now exposed to Silas. The plan is off. It's too dangerous, Elias said, moving to abort the mission immediately. No, Sulin stopped him, her gaze unnervingly calm. We'll use this. Silas thinks he knows our plan. That's our greatest advantage. We change the plan right now. Seeing her composure under fire, Elias felt a thrill of meeting a true equal for the first time. This girl had completely transformed. The showdown was set for an abandoned tech park. Silas demanded that Sulin come alone with the hardware containing Nirvana in exchange for Julian. Under the cover of night, Sulin walked into the deserted park alone. Silas was there with a few of his men, and Julian, tied up like a parcel. Where's the key? Silas's voice was hoarse and cold. Sulin took out the device and began the sequence. Everything matched the intelligence Silas had received from Marcus. A triumphant smirk spread across Silas's face. Just as he signaled his men to snatch the device, Elias's voice came through her earpiece. Now, Sulin hit the final key, but this time, it wasn't the lights that went out. Instead, massive holographic walls shot up around the park, trapping them all inside. The walls began to broadcast all of Silas's criminal evidence from over the years, the volume loud enough to be heard across half the city. What did you do? Silas roared, pulling a gun and aiming it at Sulin. You think you've won, Elias? Silas suddenly burst into maniacal laughter. You think I don't have a trump card? He pressed a button on the device on his wrist. Instantly, the park's underground backup generators began to overload with a deafening roar. I've planted an ultra-high-frequency electromagnetic pulse bomb here. Silas screamed, his face a mask of rage. In 5 minutes, it will detonate. The entire city's power grid, communications, and financial systems will be wiped out. Everyone will be sent back to the Stone Age. I'll have this city serve as your tomb." A red countdown timer appeared on the holographic walls, sending everyone into a panic. "There's only one way to stop it," Elias said to Su Ling, his face grim. "We have to use the Phoenix Key's core code to counterhack the bomb's control system, but it will take time, and once you start, you can't stop, or it will trigger an even bigger explosion." "I'll do it. You cover me," Su Ling said without hesitation, sitting at the device and her fingers flying across the keyboard. Silas and his men charged forward like madmen. Elias's security team immediately intercepted them. The scene devolved into chaos. Julian tried to escape in the confusion, but was hit in the leg by a piece of flying shrapnel, falling to the ground with a scream. Seeing that all was lost, Silas made a desperate grab for Su Ling, trying to take her hostage. However, before he could get close, Elias sent him flying with a kick. The move was lightning fast and powerful. Elias shielded Su Ling protectively behind him, looking down coldly at Silas on the ground. "It's over," he said, his voice quiet but carrying the weight of a final judgment. With only 3 seconds left on the countdown, Su Ling finally hit the last enter key. The deafening roar stopped. The crisis was averted. 1 year later, the Seattle night sky was as brilliant as ever. At the top of the glass tower, Su Ling leaned against Elias, her hand gently resting on her slightly swollen belly. Everything had changed after that night. Silas and his syndicate were completely dismantled. Julian paid the legal price for his actions. Marcus's family was rescued, and he received a lenient sentence for his cooperation. As for Su Ling, she was no longer the timid, lost gallery assistant. She and Elias had co-founded a foundation dedicated to discovering and protecting gifted digital artists like her father, ensuring that art and technology would bring beauty to the world, not disaster. She used her unique artistic vision and the technological genius she inherited from her father to create one miracle after another. She was no longer the girl who needed protection. She had grown into a queen who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Elias. "What are you thinking about?" Elias murmured, placing a tender kiss on her forehead. "I was thinking about where I would be now if you hadn't shown up that night," Su Ling said, looking up into his eyes. Those irises, once as cold as the night sky, now reflected only her, filled with warmth and affection. "I would have always shown up." Elias held her tighter. "From the day I decided to carry on your father's legacy and protect his work, from the first moment I saw you in a crowd, my world has revolved only around you." He took a velvet box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a uniquely designed ring. In the center, instead of a diamond, was a tiny microchip, etched with the image of a phoenix in flight. "Su Ling," he said, dropping to one knee, his eyes full of earnest devotion. "Will you marry me and be the mistress of this tower forever?" Tears streamed down Su Ling's face, but this time they were tears of joy. She nodded emphatically. Outside the window, all the city lights seemed to be celebrating for them. She once thought her life was a forgotten tragedy, but fate, in the most dramatic way possible, had given her the most romantic ending. After surviving deceit, danger, and fear, she had finally found the one person willing to stand against the world for her, and she had found her own impregnable glass tower. And that's where our story ends, a love story about protection and growth. I hope it touched your heart. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you won't miss any.